No way he just said this. A former New York Jets star just went out of his way to shade the New York Jets. Meanwhile, another star did the exact opposite. And what we're seeing right now with this current Jets regime makes it pretty easy to forget the past, according to recent reports. And we are going to break all this down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here. We're going to jump right into things as always. If you guys are part of that 66% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe, or we are unfortunately going to have to set Matt on fire again, which we do want to avoid. It's been a few years since we've had to burn Matt at the stake. Let's not do it again. But more importantly, let's talk about it. Davante Adams went out of his way and threw some serious shade towards the New York Jets, and there's a lot of feelings that comes up when we see this. Obviously, last season was a nightmare for Jets fans. It was one of the worst seasons in memory, the worst season I ever experienced in my life. Just the perfect time for us to start Jets Digest, Matt. And on top of that, what we saw was the Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams duo absolutely not work out when the Jets had traded for Adams. The season was likely already a lost cause. But Adams, he spoke on just the difference between playing for the Rams and playing for the Jets. And he said, I feel like this is what I needed based off the vibe and the aura of the building. And everybody's in a good mood. It's not like a dark cloud over the building. And I've experienced that quite a bit over the last few years. So it's a glaring difference when you come into a building like this. It's just about ball. It's no other BS. Now, Matt, part of this, we could totally outright and go say, you know what? Fair. Like, totally fair. Especially considering he went from the Raiders to the Jets. Just not great franchises across the board right there. Obviously, he comes into a team that Jeff Ulbricht's coaching. He wasn't there for the Robert Saleh stuff, and that was part of the problem as well, as we talked about extensively last season. But obviously, Davante Adams coming in, throwing some shade at this Jets team. What was your initial reaction when you saw this?
Yeah, Davante Adams talking trash about the New York Jets. We just saw the same thing from Aaron Rodgers, talking about how he was hyping up the Steelers as a historic franchise. And then he said a couple of years ago, I was on another one, and there was a suspicious omission of years in between his Packers days and his Steelers days that he didn't have anything to talk about. It just seems like, no one has anything good to say about the New York Jets. Not really sure why they're talking about the Jets at all, because Davante Adams was only here for a couple weeks in one season. He didn't have to say anything about the New York Jets, but I get it. I mean, obviously, the New York Jets do a lot of things wrong. We know Woody Johnson has his children in the locker room and his son's friends in the locker room with them. Obviously, not what you need out of a high-class organization, which is where the Jets want to put themselves. Right now, they're not a high-class organization. I wish they were, but they're not. They don't handle themselves properly. They don't do the right things. They're just not a high-class organization. It starts at the top, starts with Woody Johnson. He has to handle himself like a professional. He has to handle himself like the owner of the team and not a fan of the team. He can't be going through, saying what's up to all the players over the course of the day. It's got to be, just like Davante Adams said, all about football. It has to be when the players are at or in the workout room, on the football field. They shouldn't be worried about how the ownership is perceiving them because the ownership's there watching them. They should be caring about playing football at a high level and impressing the coaches that are on the field, because the coaches, are the guys who, in well-run organizations, make all the start-sit decisions. We know Woody Johnson likes to stick his fingers in with those. And then those coaches, you want to impress them because they actually know about football. It's not about impressing the owners who know objectively less about playing football than NFL head coaches do. We watched it a couple of years ago. Woody Johnson went into the locker room and yelled at Mike White and told him that he sucked. That's not the way that high-class organizations handle themselves. It's something that the New York Jets will have to distance themselves from if they are going to be a high-class organization going forwards.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those things where you look at the new regime and you just go, that wasn't us. What are we supposed to do? And obviously Woody, it is him, but he's trying to stay out of the way for right now, and we'll see how much Woody Johnson can actually stay out of the way. But for things right now, I mean, if you're Aaron Glenn, if you're Darren Mougey, you're like, yeah, that's what we're trying to get away from. Say whatever the hell you want. You're not on our team. We don't care. Go out and talk all the trash about us you want. Now, about Aaron Rodgers, yes, he did obviously take that little gap in between discussing all this. But he was asked about the difference to a degree, and he did say that he wasn't going to shade the Jets or anything. Aaron Rodgers, for the most part, and he didn't necessarily have to do this, given he didn't play well enough. We've talked about this extensively. From what we needed from Aaron Rodgers, we didn't get that. I understand he was older. He came off the torn Achilles. It was an unfortunate situation. But it's also a failure on his part, the way that the Jets performed. There's no way it isn't. He was the effective leader of that team. He was the face of the team, and they underperformed. So you do put some of the blame on Rodgers. He overthrew Davante Adams a few times. He never connected with Garrett Wilson correctly. And there is stuff that you do look back and blame Rodgers for. But Rodgers, for the most part, he has been pretty nice towards the Jets and has made it pretty clear that he did like playing for the Jets. Obviously, I don't think anyone believes this, but Rodgers did say that the 2 years with the Jets were the best years of his life. Now, again, I don't believe that on the prospect of how good the Packers were, including winning a Super Bowl with Rodgers all those years ago. But at the same time, he made it clear that he did actually enjoy his time as a New York Jet. Jermaine Johnson talked about it, and it said that he was talking to Rodgers recently, but obviously once week 1 comes around, there's no friends in there. And it was all good, like, sort of like, not, it wasn't great, it just wasn't bad. So there is that, which I think has an impact on things. Adams came into a team and he tried to fix it. I mean, the comments he made even after that week when they lost to Pittsburgh, which was the first week that Adams was there, when Breece Hall ripped off an awesome touchdown and Adams was like, nobody cared on the side of the field. What is that? So I understand why Adams was mad.
Yeah, and Chris, if you're wondering why Aaron Rodgers had one of the best years of his life, even though the Jets were playing poorly on the field, it's because he wasn't fully committed to the team. He was doing stuff away from the football field, going to Egypt, having fun, throwing players under the bus week in and week out. That's why he was able to still have fun, even though the team was underperforming from where they were expected to be. The New York Jets, just like that stuff you were saying with Davante Adams on the sidelines, people not handling themselves correctly, we need a leader to teach them how to handle those situations properly. The New York Jets, of course, they don't know how to celebrate. There has been very little to celebrate over the past decade and a half. Aaron Glenn's here to change that. I have full faith in him that he can change that. To me, the only question is, how long will it take him to change that? I don't think it's going to be 1 year. This year, I'm not expecting a ton of wins, as we're on record for saying, but I do think Aaron Glenn is finally the right guy for the New York Jets to turn around what has been a dismal decade and a half of football.
I agree. And real quick on the prospect of Adams, he did have a solid tenure with the Jets for sure individually. He had 67 catches for 854 yards and scored 7 touchdowns in 11 games. So not at all bad numbers. Was averaging 12.7 yards per catch. So solid in total, 77.6 yards per game. So not bad at all. The Jets were just a terribly ran team, obviously, as we know. But now things have changed. But one guy who's still here and still great is Garrett Wilson. And Matt, this is the good news portion of it all. Garrett Wilson, by all accounts, looks great and is being utilized far better than he ever was with the previous regime. Now, Connor Hughes tweeted out that Garrett Wilson looks as good as I can remember him looking. He has had a great summer, used in much more creative ways with Tanner Engstrand, similar to Mike LaFleur, not boxed into one position, clearly a guy they will want to get the ball to and will find ways to do, which is smart. Now, we've talked about it extensively. Garrett Wilson is both of our favorite players in the Jets. He's probably most Jets fans' favorite player. Look, the man is absolutely awesome. He's given the Jets all he's had, and he's entering year 4. This is not only is he trying to play for a contract here, but he's going to get more offensive freedom, and he's with a quarterback he likes. I think it's pretty safe to assume, especially considering we know there's not going to be some Davante Adams trade, because even before the season began, we kind of knew in the back of our minds there's always a chance where randomly Davante Adams ends up on the Jets as long as Rodgers is here. That's not happening this year. There's not some star aging wide receiver who's going to show up and the quarterback's going to like him better. This is Garrett Wilson's guy in Justin Fields right now. I find it hard to imagine that we're not about, barring everyone's healthy and everything, I find it hard to imagine that we're not about to see the best season that Garrett Wilson has had. I think it's going to be his best year for sure.
What's annoying is every single season it feels like he's about to have a crazy breakout, and then something just goes off the rails where he doesn't. 2 years ago, it was the torn Achilles for Rodgers. Last year, the acquisition of Davante Adams hurt Garrett Wilson because he was on track to get the most targets in the entire NFL. But once Davante Adams was traded to the New York Jets, Davante Adams out-targeted him throughout the rest of the season. and it hurt Garrett Wilson's production. Garrett Wilson, we know he has a crazy season in him. He just needs consistent quarterback play to actually be able to reach those numbers. Maybe that it doesn't even have to be consistent, but he needs someone who's going to aggressively target him, which Justin Fields can. Justin Fields can throw the deep ball to Garrett Wilson. I took away the consistency requirement because our reports coming out of OTAs today is that Justin Fields hasn't been consistent, but his deep balls look good, which is exactly par for the course for what he's been in his career in the NFL. But DJ Moore was able to make that work. I fully believe that Garrett Wilson's a better player than DJ Moore. So I do think Garrett Wilson will be able to have a massive breakout playing with Justin Fields. Also remember that there is no wide receiver too. Garrett Wilson is, unless Mason Taylor shows up like crazy as a rookie, which the history says he won't, Garrett Wilson is the only game in town. He should get a ton of targets. I can't wait to see what he does this season.
I would imagine that he's going to end up leading the NFL in targets as well. Just based, I mean, I know it's going to be a run-heavy offense, which does have an impact on things for sure, but it would not be surprising considering when they throw the ball, so many of these pass plays are going to be designed. Get Garrett Wilson the ball, get him the deep ball, get him anywhere in space to work, and just get ready to watch the show here. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Wilson play. I'm looking forward to seeing this Jets team play, because if nothing else, what there's not going to be is that dark cloud hanging over us like there was last year. And I'm not blaming Adams or Rodgers for that. Not blaming Rodgers for that, but I'm not fully blaming anyone. I'm blaming Woody Johnson. And, Aaron Rodgers did nothing to help. So it becomes that situation. The dark cloud, to a degree, is gone. Obviously, Woody is here. But as where things stand right now, Aaron Glenn is that light that shines through. Like the light that's shining through. Oh, it's gone now. The sun was glaring in my eye for the majority of this video. I kept having to move my head so I didn't go blind. But it's all good now. I'm not being blinded by the sun, and Aaron Glenn rocks. Matt, what do you think on the world?
Well, let's go, Aaron Glenn. Let's see what he's got.
I love Aaron Glenn, guys. If you love Aaron Glenn, make sure to subscribe to Aaron Glenn Digest, aka Jets Digest. We should just switch to that because Aaron Glenn's a beast. But we'll catch you on the next one. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day. Let's try to not set Matt on fire.